So welcome back again students to another video lesson. So during our first video lesson, diniscuss ko po sa inyo yung illustration ng permutations wherein ginamit po natin doon yung iba't ibang methods kung paano illustrate yon. So using fundamental counting principle, tree diagram, and systematic listing method. So for this video lesson, parang kadugtong lang po siya nung first lesson. So dito naman po, mas makikilala po natin yung permutations. And then i-discuss ko po dito yung mga formula and then iba't ibang uri ng permutation. So for the lesson objectives, we will illustrate the following. Permutation of n objects taken r at a time. So may formula po tayo dyang ipe-present. And then as well as yung types of permutations. So distinguishable permutation, linear permutation, and lastly, circular permutation. So let us have again permutation. So kapag sinabi nating permutation, of course, ang pinaka-pino-point out po niya dito is yung arrangement ng mga objects. So in short, order matters. So to find the permutation of n objects taken r at a time, we use the formula n factorial all over the quantity of n minus r factorial, wherein n is greater than or equal to r. So ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng n tsaka r dyan? So n is the total number of objects, yung kabuuang bilang ng mga bagay na ina-arrange. And then r is the number of objects taken at a time. So kung meron tayong total number of objects, so from those total number of objects, so kumukuha lang tayo ng iilan. So yun yung tinatawag nating taken r at a time. Okay, so maaring kunin natin lahat yon, maaring isa lang, dalawa, depende po. Okay, so why is it n is greater than or equal to r? Okay, so syempre, kailangan mas malaki ang bilang ng total dun sa kinukuha. Like for example, kung ang total number ng students is 5 and then ang R mo is 10, so impossible na makakuha ka ng 10 dun sa 5 lang. Okay, so dapat mas mataas yung value ng n kesa sa R. So let us have an example. Andy, Blessie, Cathy, Donna, and Emily wants to take a photo in which 3 of the 5 friends are lined up in a row. How many different photos are possible? So based po sa ating given problem, meron po tayo ditong 5 friends. So ayan, Andy, Blessie, Cathy, Donna, and Emily. And then magte-take sila ng picture, ng photo. And then ang pagte-take ng pictures nila is by 3. So, kailangan po nating identify dito which is n, which is r. Okay, so nakalinya po sila in a row. Okay, so our n here is 5. Kasi 5 yung magkakaibigan. And then, from these 5 friends, kukuha po tayo ng 3. So, r is equal to 3. Kasi, by 3 po ang ating picture taking. Now, using the formula, ayan, so yan ang maaring notation ng permutation o pwede rin naman pong ito, NPR. Okay? So, yung formula po niya is n factorial all over the quantity of n minus r factorial. And then we'll just substitute the value of n and r to the given formula. So n is 5. So 5 factorial all over n minus r. So that is 5 minus 3 factorial. Next, 5 factorial all over the difference of 5 and 3 is 2 factorial. Now, simplify natin yan. So, 5 factorial all over 2 factorial. So, nire-write natin. And then, express natin yung factors ng 5 factorial at titigil tayo dun sa 2 factorial para ma-cancel out natin yung nasa denominator. So, magiging 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 factorial all over 2 factorial. And then, makakancel po yung 2 factorial. Mumultiply po natin yung mga natira. So, 5 times 4 is 20 times 3, 60. So, sulat po natin dito, 5, 3 equals 60. So, ibig sabihin, ito po ang bilang ng paraan para mag-take ng picture yung mga magkakaibigan nyo. So yung 5 magkakaibigan na yon, magla-lined up sila para kumuha ng photo, kaya lang, tigta-tatlo. So, pwede nilang gawin nyo in 60 ways. So, 60 different photos. Pwede nating sulat dito, 60 different photos. So, ayan. Next naman is distinguishable permutation. So, distinguishable permutation is a type of permutation that can be distinguished from one another. Usually, words are being used as examples. Okay, so kung paano naiiba ang isang bagay sa ibang bagay. Okay. So, maaari natin gamitin po dito, sa distinguishable permutation is yung mga words, mga salita, as examples. So, we use the formula, so n factorial all over n sub 1 factorial times n sub 2 factorial times up to n sub k factorial, where n sub 1 factorial times n sub 2 factorial up to n sub k factorial are the repeated items. Okay, so diba meron po tayong mga words na may mga repeating letters. Meron din namang hindi. Okay. So, kapag yung ating mga letters sa isang word ay hindi umuulit, so yung pinaka-formula lang po natin dyan is yung n factorial. Kasi magkakaiba po yung mga letters. And then, kapag naman may mga umulit, so, ililista po natin yung mga repeated items, repeated letters dun sa denominator. So, depende po kung ilang beses umulit yung letters. So, kapag isang beses lang po, we don't need to write 1 factorial. So, usually, ang ginagamit po natin dyan is more than 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So, let us have an example. Determine the number of distinguishable permutations of the word messages. Okay. So, ang una po nating step dito is to determine the number of letters of the given word. So, based po dito sa ating given word na messages, yung bilang po ng letra is 8. Now, yung mga repeating letters po kasi ang ating kino-consider dito. So, yung mga repeating letters po natin are E, N, S. So, yung N sub 1 po natin is yung bilang ng letter E. So, bilang ng letter E is 2. And then, N sub 2 naman, ito naman yung bilang ng letter S, which is 3. Now, yung process po ng pag-solve nito, so P is equal to n factorial all over n sub 1 factorial, n sub 2 factorial, up to n sub k factorial. Now, n factorial will be 8 factorial, substitute lang natin, and then n sub 1 is 2 factorial, and then n sub 2 is 3 factorial. Now, express natin yung 8 factorial up to 3 factorial para makancel yung 3 factorial na nasa denominator. So, magiging 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 factorial. And then, express natin yung 2 factorial as 2 times 1 times 3 factorial. So, makakancel po yung 3 factorial. And then, yung 2, meron naman siyang common factor dun sa numerator, yung 8, 6, and 4. So, gamitin natin yung sa 4. So, 2, magiging 1 na lang. And then, yung 4, magiging 2. Next, mga remaining factors, multiply lang natin 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 2. So, 8 times 7 is 56, times 6, 336, times 5 is 1,680 times 2, 3,360. So, yung total na number of distinguishable permutations of the word messages is 3,360. Next, we have linear permutation. So, linear permutation is a type of permutation wherein the arrangement of objects is in a form of a line or in a row. Okay. So, linear. So, from the root word line. So, nakalinya po yan. Okay. So, naka-arrange sila in that manner. So, yung formula po for linear permutation is n factorial. Okay. So, susulat lang po tayo ng mga guhit-guhit and then, i-multiply lang natin yung mga numbers na isusulat natin doon. So, let us have an example. In how many ways can 4 algebra books and 3 geometry books be arranged if there are no restrictions? For letter A, there are no restrictions. So, ibig sabihin, pwede po nating i-arrange yung mga books na yan regardless sa order nila. Okay. So, kung pwede nating i-arrange yung algebra books muna o kaya naman geometry books. O pwede rin naman po halo-halo. Okay. So, basta walang restriction. Pwede nating i-arrange yun kung saan natin sila gustong i-arrange. So, to do that, i-add lang po natin yung bilang ng algebra at saka geometry books. That is 7 factorial. So, 7 factorial is equal to 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay. So, kapag there are no restrictions, i-add lang po natin yung mga bilang ng objects. So, 4 plus 3 is 7. So, 7 times 6 is 42, times 5, 210, times 4, 840, times 3, 2,520, times 2, 5,040, times 1, 5,040. So, ibig sabihin, there are 5,040 ways to arrange the 4 algebra books and 3 geometry books if there are no restrictions. And then for letter B naman, algebra books are on the left and geometry books are on the right. Okay, so dito po, specific na po yung arrangement ng algebra books and geometry books. So sa first na arrangement natin, nasa left yung mga algebra books. So, ito yung pwesto nila, algebra books. And then, sa pangalawa naman, yung geometry books. So, dito sa algebra books, 4 factorial. And then naman, sa geometry books naman, 3 factorial. So, sulat natin dito sa unang side, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then sa right side naman, yung 3 factorial express natin as 3 times 2 times 1. So, kukunin lang natin ngayon ang product ng 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1 na yan. So, 4 factorial is 24. And then, times 3 factorial is 6. So, 24 times 6 is 144. So, ibig sabihin po, there are 144 ways that these books be arranged wherein yung nasa left, yung algebra, yung nasa right naman is yung geometry books. Last but not the least is circular permutation. So, circular permutation is a type of permutation where the arrangement of objects is in a form of a fixed circle. So, yung root word po ng circular is circle, of course. So, ina-arrange po natin yung mga objects in a circular manner naman. So, kung kanina sa linear permutation, in a form of a line or in a row. So, dito sa circular, in a form of circle. And then, in order to determine the number of ways of arranging the objects around the circle, so we will be using the formula, the quantity of n minus 1 factorial. Okay. So, fix po kasi yung isang object dyan. Okay. So, kaya n minus 1 factorial. So, for you to understand circular permutation, so let us have a problem with an illustration. So, in how many ways can Angel, Bea, and Cindy be seated around the table? So, ito po yung illustration ng kanilang mga arrangement. So, una po, ayan. So, ayan, figure 1, A, tapos B, and then C. Sa pangalawa naman, A, C, and then B. Okay. So, yung sa unang figure po natin, figure number 1, so, yung arrangement po na A, C, B, C, B, A, B, A, C, iisa lang po yan. Okay. So, kahit naman pagpilitin po natin yung mga lugar na yan, ikutin man natin yan, so pare-pareho lang po yan. Okay. The same lang po. And then, sa figure number 2 naman, yung arrangement po na A, B, C, BCA, tsaka CAB, again, isang arrangement lang din po yan. So, pare-pareho lang din po yung arrangement na yan. And then, halimbawa, itong si A, dito, sa second figure, sa letter A, iikot natin yung pwesto. So, makikita pa rin po natin dyan yung ABC, yung BCA, tsaka CAB. So, to answer the question, so, n minus 1 factorial, that is 3 minus 1 factorial. So, 3 minus 1 is 2. So, 2 factorial is equal to 2. So, ibig sabihin, there are 2 ways that Angel, Bea, and Cindy be seated around the table. So, meron lang po tayong dalawang paraan. So, after discussing with you the formula for permutation of objects taken R at a time, so, and then as well as yung types of permutation, distinguishable, linear, and circular, so our next video lesson will be, we will be solving word problems on permutations of n objects taken R at a time. So, that's all. Thank you.